Good day, Katrina. Welcome to your first CAS interview.
Good afternoon, Ms. Audrey. I'm Katrina Luis and Pablo of IBDP Year 1 in the sixth cohort of St. Jude Catholic School.
Okay, and let's go with the first part of your interview. Let's talk about your general understanding of the CAS program. At this point, what do you know about CAS or how do you understand CAS as part of the IBDP?
Based on what I've read and the info sessions that we've had, in class, all those Google Meets and Zoom meetings, it stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service, and they are mandatory extracurriculars, if you will say, that help the IBDP students develop their critical thinking, for them to explore their weaknesses and strengths, and as well as to challenge themselves, for them to get out of their comfort zone, and to be able to balance their social life along with uh, their mandatory curriculum requirements, which is their six subjects and the three core subjects. Additionally, I think that CAS is an opportunity for students to um, learn new things, try things that they have not done before, and yes, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Based on your answer, you have a good understanding of what is the CAS program and how will it help you or how will it enable you to grow as a full-rounded person or holistic person in the IBDP, right? Now, let's go specifically on the CAS stages. You know generally what is CAS. What have you learned about the CAS stages and how do these stages can help you in this program?
So, based on my knowledge and reading, there are a couple of stages in CAS. So, first is investigation, which involves digging deep into your interests, skills, checking for possible opportunities that may occur that you can also identify if the experience or project that you have an idea on is passable as CAS. So if it's challenging enough, does it align with your goals? And then the following step is planning. So this refers to the planning processes. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You prepare for the action step. So, for example, if you're going to be working at a place and then donating the money that you will earn, you would have to fill out forms, um, have an interview, or prepare your CV and such like that. Or if you're doing an activity, let's say, for example, if you're going to be working out for your activity, you might want to have a grasp of the basic movements, do some stretches, and such. This could also be the time for you to plan everything and propose it to your CAS advisor or on the Learning Management System Manage Pack. After which, that's when you after the proposal has been approved, that's when you execute your plans. So this is the part where you actually do the activity. And then in between each of those, there are things that you have to write about. So that's where the reflection comes in. So the reflection involves not just what you are doing, you don't just describe what happened during the experience or the project, but also how did you feel about this experience or that project? What did you learn about this experience or that project? And some personal reflections, not just dictating or describing what happened, because the purpose of CAS is for you to be able to reflect on these experiences and activities your to develop your critical thinking as well. So um, besides the reflection, you also have to document the whole process. So it depends on the student, but for me, I guess I might decide on taking important videos and clips, taking photographs of important events and such, and keeping track of them. So yes, that's my understanding, and I think that these stages help with the organization in itself. It just helps things become more cohesive, because you will inevitably encounter challenges when you do such experiences or projects, but following the format of the stages helps things flow much smoother.
Okay, thank you for a very detailed answer. It is impressive to listen to you as you not only answer the question in terms of your knowledge about the CAS stages, but at the same time extending by giving definite examples of how will it apply in a given engagement or in a given experience or project. And to emphasize, I like what you said about how these CAS stages not only will help you students to plan what you want to do in CAS, but at the same time to make things cohesive or organized. Because with good planning, you can be prepared with any possible or any anticipated risks or problems that might arise during the experience or the project, right?
Yes.
Now, since by your first answers, you are very much familiar with CAS already. How will you mentioned a while ago that there are the different strands, the creativity, activity, and service. How will you plan for an equal distribution of the cast strands across your experiences and even to your project?
I think I learned this from filling out the eighth form for CAS, but my rule of thumb is usually to just follow the track that you have chosen, and then usually you would have an even distribution between the strands. So, for example, I chose the third track, which involves three activity experiences, one activity, and then three service. So, I just tried to go by that number or ratio. So, for example, the ones that I wrote on the paper involved around 3 to 4 creativity, two activities, and then around three service. So, I guess that's my personal way of seeing if it's balanced out is to just check um, how many it is per track and then just try to go by that number.
Okay, and that is actually the purpose of why we included different cast tracks. That is to allow students and even to help students like you to ensure that you are not just focusing on one strand of the cast, right? And
Yes.
although I'm not sure if this will be true as well, but when choosing the cast track, did you experience like you were trying to emphasize more of this strand and try to refrain from having to propose this specific strand or experiences under this specific strand? Was there anything or any difficulty in choosing the track?
I think for me personally, I first checked around for possible opportunities I could like put under each track, and I found activity to be like the least common since it is the pandemic. So having like I'd say fun or activities that I really want to do was quite difficult, and usually in the place where I live it's quite pricey. So for example, like certain sports or training have fees, and I just I love the creativity track too. So that's why I wanted to pick a track that had a lot of space for creativity. And as for service, I guess that when I asked around, I actually happened to find a lot of service experiences than I thought I would. Because usually here, it's hard to find service experiences because I thought you would need to like apply or get a license to be able to become a general volunteer. But I ended up finding quite a lot and some online ones within our school campus. So I guess I just based it off of the opportunities that I found and see which track fit the most.
All right. And I guess that pays off or it paid off your planning. And that is very good because before you make decisions, you have to first consider the options that were given to you, right?
Yes.
All right. So for my last question in this part of the of your general understanding of the CAS program, since like I've mentioned a while ago, you are very much familiar already about what is CAS, the requirements, what are the things expected from you as a student. Which aspect of the program, Katrina, excites you the most, and why?
Actually, a story that that I guess is connected to this. Going into the IB, I actually wanted to do it for the sake of two things. First, I wanted to have an art subject because if I were to do the Philippine curriculum, STEM would be my best choice, but it doesn't have an art subject, which isn't exactly related to. Um, it's related, but art is also a very big part of architecture. And second was CAS. This is due to the fact that in my previous school, I don't think extracurricular activities or, um, yeah, extracurricular activities were focused on a lot. Like, for some reason, they always said no to it or declined whenever a student proposes. And another thing why I wanted to do CAS initially, like before getting into, the program and start like actually starting when I was still a prospective student, I wanted to do it for the sake of college applications. And when now that I think about it, I think that it's so if you think about it, I'm robbing opportunities for myself if I base all my experiences on something to like please someone else, which is the college admissions officers. Then that wouldn't exactly be productive or meaningful, because what if at the end of the day I don't get into that specific school, and then what now? I chose to do activities that I didn't want to do. I just did it for the sake of other people, um, for pleasing other people. So um, I think it excites me the most that after having that whole reflection regarding that situation, it excites me that I'll have a deeper connection to the things that I actually like to do. And I also like the idea that it's new to me because like I've said, I've never had that much extracurricular activities. I think we've only had one club in our school before. So the whole idea, actually, there's no specific aspect of it that um I'm excited about. It's the whole idea of this program and the fact that I'll be able to deepen my connection with the things that I like to do, like art, for example. Um, I plan to do a CAS project and proposed a club with my friend who is also in the arts class, or I'm considering doing an activity in relation to my sport that I used to practice quite often before, which is martial arts. So CAS really helps you stay. How do I explain? CAS helps you stay connected with the things that you like to do that you would often forget because of how busy the workload is. And that's the thing that I really like about it.
Okay, and I think you also mentioned not only the things, or not only CAS helps you to stay connected to the things that you are interested to, but at the same time to branch out, right? To widen your horizon, to try new things, to not rob yourselves with opportunities to become a better version of yourself. And with that, you answering that way, I can see already, or I can somehow visualize how proactive you can be in this program, and that is definitely needed. Okay, now if those are the things, or if generally CAS excites you the most, what about the parts or aspects of CAS that you think will be challenging for you?
With that said, I think with everything that I said, I think everything's a dual-edged sword. So it is exciting that it's new, but of course, it makes me nervous that I'll encounter specific challenges in this zone that I'm not very comfortable with, or the comfort zone. So let's say if I'm starting out a CAS project, I'm scared that I'll make mistakes in collaborating with each other because I've had issues in the past regarding teamwork or leadership skills. But that was a while back, and hopefully, in case of instead of looking at this as a challenge, I could make this as a way to redeem myself or learn more about myself, not only about myself, but work with others, to work with a diverse group of people. And with me being a new student, that's very, I guess that's more evident since I don't know a lot of people at the school. So I guess yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but I think working with other people can also help me if I just look at it in a positive manner.
Okay, great. And yes, I could agree as your advisor. It is very important that you are familiar already with the things that you are need to do, with the things that you are interested to, and at the same time, you are also waiting for or anticipating the possible challenges that may come, that may also happen, because of course not only that you enjoy it, but at the same time it will also be challenging. And that is what I always emphasize in our info sessions, right? That aside that you need to ensure that this will be something meaningful and worthwhile for you, it has to be challenging. So like what you've said, it has to be challenging so that it could help you improve, it could help you grow. Okay, now we're done talking about the your understanding of CAS, and since you are also you had also talked about the interest you have in CAS, let's talk about your plans and how will you incorporate your interests in your CAS program. You've mentioned that you are very much interested in arts, right?
Yes, miss.
And how do you think this interest can be advanced or can be modified in such a way that it will fit the requirements of CAS?
I mean, quite frankly, in terms of finding an activity that fits under CAS that would be challenging for me, I think it's easier for me to find um, things or projects to propose because of the fact that I am new to this. So usually when it's CAS, you have to say that it's out of your comfort zone or it's challenging you. And a lot of these things are new to me. So the way that I wanted to deepen my love of art and propose it as a CAS project was actually to start a club. So even before getting into this school, it's always been one of my goals to start a club, and thankfully that worked out. So we're still in the planning process of actually trying to propose it, as we still have some things to fix. But I guess what made it fit under CAS, even if I'm proficient in the arts already, is the fact that I'm working with a whole new set of people. And I have not met these people even in real life. And I think that could be a challenge that could fit under CAS because, CAS projects should be challenging and should be challenging your capacity to critically analyze situations and to be able to solve them. So that's one thing. And another thing is that the activities we set out for this project, um, I want to do activities I've never done before. So some of the plans that we have are to to host a possible exhibition of the works of the students. And another thing is the donation drive of Brigada Escuela, which you have suggested. So those are things that are new to me. And that's how I actually made it fit under CAS. I found activities that I've never done before and write them down and consider them to be done so that it would fit under CAS.
Very well said, and that is what you had been planning to do, right? You are incorporating what you are interested to, and to make it challenging, you try to include the things that you want to improve on. And if I could connect your previous answers and this recent one, you've mentioned a while ago that you had concerns with regards to teamwork and leadership, right? And
Yes, miss.
your plan, one of your plan in CAS is to make the club you proposed, an art club that you proposed, that you will spearhead, you will be the leader of, and that is something you are making yourself interested to what you're doing, but at the same time challenging yourself as well, because you're not only going to do activities related to art, but at the same time you will be dealing with people, you will be managing your batchmates or your members as a leader. And that is how you make something you enjoy or you previously are doing challenging so that it would fit the CAS requirements. Very good. Now, you've mentioned a number of things that you plan for CAS. Could you briefly explain other things you plan for creativity, activity, or service? And what are you hoping to learn to some of these activities or engagements that you can share with us?
So when I listed these down, some of them I still were unsure of, but I still submitted them because I knew I would highly, highly consider them. So for example, in the section of creativity, besides, the art aspect that I want to cater towards, I actually joined this organization, or uh, this CAS project that Ariana made. It's basically a mental health related organization because she is a psychology student under you. And we've decided that I would be working under the creative department of her project. So I wanted that to be under my creativity since she's my friend and I wanted to work with her as well. And besides that, that's also an opportunity for me to meet and work with other people since she will be bringing in other people as well. Another thing for creativity that I proposed was Picasso. Now, I actually started this business back in the summer before 10th grade. And then within 10th grade, I kind of got busy. So I thought of it as like an opportunity for me to be able to um, enjoy it again through CAS because CAS will keep me accountable for the things that I normally would put off. So basically, it's a tote bag business that involves embroidered tote bags. And I find it challenging, and I thought it would fit under CAS simply because, like, one, it was a small business, so maybe I could set a higher target market for people to sell to, and if ever, I could use I could use the profit that I earn not only for the business but for donations as well, so I could possibly put that under service. So I'm kind of deciding between the two strands. But that's for the main part. I wanted to be creativity because I still think managing a business in itself is challenging despite creating these products might be simpler. The fact that you have to manage this whole thing with still doing your school requirements is difficult. um another creativity another creativity experience that I put on the list was learning Arabic. So this is the thing. Um, I've learned Arabic for over my whole life, basically since first grade, but I have never learned how to speak the language. So I've never been able to properly converse with locals or write an essay by myself without using the help of dear Google Translate. So I want to be able to learn the language because I feel like I've taken advantage of that whole time that I have been learning it. And I still think it's challenging because I still can't speak the language. So maybe just like the example that you gave during the last info session, I could find an Arabic proficiency test. So I would need to be able to pass that for me to consider challenging or working towards a goal. As for activity, this one, I like what I previously stated. I had a hard time thinking of because opportunities were quite limited since it's the pandemic. But some are open, like some training areas are open. So I did karate for 2 years, and I thought, oh, I should propose this as an experience. But when I thought about it, I've actually done so much in the sport already. So it's kind of hard to set a goal that would be something I haven't done yet or something more challenging, as I've already gotten a couple of awards in that. I've already gotten proficient. So I've already gotten my black belt. So it's hard to think of um, something that would challenge me in that aspect. But I guess uh, I remembered that there's this other type of martial art that they actually teach in the same training center that I went to, which is Kobudo. So I could try that because it's similar to karate, but it's very different in terms of like weapons because you actually have to use um, weapons. So for example, like the bow or the sai. Miss, I'm sorry if you're unfamiliar, but these are safe and they're approved by the government, so it's all right. But yeah, I think that could be challenging for me because I only did it for 3 months and I barely got anywhere with it. So I guess I could continue to learn that. And I also consider dragon boat racing, and I think that would be very challenging for me because one, I don't like the waters, so I guess this could be a chance for me to um face that fear because I can't swim. And another thing is that I'd learn a new sport. I'm not familiar with dragon boat racing, so that's a way for me to step out of my comfort zone. As for service, the ones that I remember, first is the volunteer work that I will be doing at my parents' office. So they actually accept volunteers, and usually students who also have to do requirements go there. But I think instead of thinking that it's a requirement, I think it's just fulfilling for me because I'll have a gist of what it looks like in my parents' like day-to-day life. And also I've assessed if it was safe or not, and apparently I'll just be doing corporate work and I'll be tested frequently, and I am also vaccinated. So that's something I've done some research on. And I think the corporate work that I'll be doing pertains to catering to patients. So I won't exactly be interacting with patients since it is the pandemic, but I will be doing corporate work that involves um, helping patients. So, for example, if there's evacuation plans or such like that in the safety department, I would be assisting in that area. But the building of like the patient ward is a totally different area compared to the offices of the company. So I've assessed that it is safe and I've ensured that I am vaccinated for the sake of this experience or project, possibly because I think it's a minimum of 50 hours, which would take at least 2 or 3 months. And another service activity that I thought of was volunteering at a cat shelter. So I have not inquired about this yet, but I have seen their website and they seem to be open. So I might contact them soon regarding this. But I have a love for cats. I have a love for animals in general. And although I may not have had a lot of pets in my life because we don't live in an area where a pet would be ideal, but I think this could be a way for me to interact with animals that I like and care about. So, cats, dogs, and I think there's birds as well in this shelter. And to learn a little bit about their life, because since I have not had that many pets, I think I could learn a little bit about animals, which could involve biology. But that's something I have yet to explore much on, as I'm trying to focus on the first service activity I've stated, because I'm trying to take things one at a time so I don't get overwhelmed and for me to do things in order. And then another service activity that I thought of was the same project Ariana actually proposed, but I've been thinking if I could put it into service as well, since it does talk about mental health and there's aspects of this project that could relate to creativity and service. So that's just like the business that I'm trying to consider thinking about. This could also lean towards either each track if I've decided, but so far that is all the activities that I've thought of for this program.
Okay, it's very marveling to listen to your plans. It's very detailed, and thank you very much for that. I can somehow already see a clip. It's like how, while you're speaking, I'm already visualizing of these engagements or experiences or projects that you are planning to engage yourself with. At the same time, in collaboration with the other classmates or the other people you've mentioned a while ago. And I think you are considering some of these experiences to be some projects as well, and that is very it will involve good planning, but I can see already that you know where are you supposed to go, and that's a good start. Let's talk about your CAS project, but in your ideas you've shared, although I am aware of some of those already since I already have your Form 8, I would be looking forward for your proposals because yes, you know already the requirements of the CAS, but as you propose, we have to, like you've mentioned a while ago, there are things that we need to ensure, especially your safety. And it's a good thing for you, although you are far away from us right now physically, given that we're an online class. But in your case, you are in a different country. It's a good thing that you have, or you can still go out and pursue CAS in different areas, not only not confining yourself within your home. And I can see that you're really taking advantage of that opportunity, right? Very good. Now let's those are your experiences. What about the plans for your CAS project? Because I've heard that aside from collaborating with the CAS projects of your classmates, you also have CAS project on your own, right? So to answer that on aside from that question, what are your ideas about your CAS project? Please also tour me on your plan or initial plan in how will you make sure that this will fit the criteria of a CAS project. And if in case, Katrina, if in case this CAS project may not materialize, what will you do? Any backup ideas do you have?
So, when we proposed this as a club, I felt like it was necessary so that we would have, um, I guess, someone to hold us accountable for the fact that this needs to be passed at a certain time, or we need to map out a whole calendar regarding the activities to be done. So, basically, the project, something I started since the start of the school year, like I talked about, I wanted to start a club. But then I thought of, I actually talked to Miss Q and she suggested it would be a CAS project. So I was like, oh yeah, why not? Because there's actually a lot of activities that could be under CAS, a CAS project. So the couple of activities that we've listed are, first, we would have webinars or talks. So we would invite someone over from possibly a different country, let's say from here, or if someone has connections with someone in a different country as well, or just in the Philippines, that would be also great. Any artist who would host a talk regarding art. And this would fit under a project because this takes deliberate planning. We would have to talk about um, who we're going to take as the host, and we're going to talk about how is the program going to flow, or what are they going to be talking about in general. So that takes a lot of planning and a lot of consensus of all of the people in the club, because I think it's important that everyone has a say in the activity, because this isn't like a one man job. Another activity that we thought of that I've discussed with Miss Eunice is the semestral magazine. So we were planning that every meeting we would have a couple of prompts that the members would follow um, as a guide to create their own art pieces. So it could be any medium of any sort. And then we would collect and compile them, and we would put them into a magazine that we would release twice a year, which is, yeah, semestral. So every um, December, I believe, and May or June, which is towards the end of the school year. Additionally, besides just the artworks for the readers not to be bored, we would also add cultural trends, fashion trends, aesthetic trends, because that's also a big thing right now. Any songs that could be put under the category of art and such like that, or literary pieces if they prefer, like if the members prefer. Another thing we proposed was we would host classes like ourselves, um, us proponents who would want this to be a project, like the officers and such. We could host a class. So whoever's proficient in the field of arts, we could teach younger. We could teach a class to younger students. So probably like within the elementary or junior high school department. We haven't fully discussed that yet, but um, I'm sure that there are some of them that are really interested in the arts, hence why they reached out to me. So I think that it would be a great idea for them to share the knowledge that they have along with me um, to other students as well. So one of the biggest projects I guess that I remember putting there was um, regarding the virtual or in-person exhibition. Now, this may depend on this may depend on the situation because it is a pandemic. Because our plan was to host an exhibition here, hopefully, because I think I could make a couple of calls or contacts to find a place for us to be able to exhibit the art of all the students from St. Jude or the ones that we've made as a club. And we would carefully and analyze um, which pieces we would want to bring over here. And I know that it one of the issues that arise or the questions that arise from Miss Eunice was that wouldn't that be costly and how would that go? So we decided that we could do art competitions that involves a fee because online payment I think nowadays is quite common. So if it's high school students, usually they have GCash accounts, and I think they could actually send in fees for a competition, and then we would send back prizes to them if ever um, they win, or consolation prizes if possible. But if that isn't possible, as a plan B to this in person exhibition, if we don't get to ship the works here, we could do a virtual one. That would be just as great. It would have a, um, more people would have more access to it. But if the in person one does get into planner, it works out. I think a good way for everyone to have access to it is to find a digital version because I think there's a lot of museums nowadays that do that. So they're in-person museums, but they do virtual ones through 360 filming. So yeah, if in case it doesn't work, there's a plan B. As for the plan B, if all of these activities didn't work, um, I suppose that we could find a simpler activity to substitute it. So for example, instead of doing a semestral magazine, we could just do one for the whole school year. So that would save us time, but we would still be able to create an impact and it would still be considered challenging. Another thing is if we can't source a speaker from outside the school, we find someone from why can't we find someone from within the country or within the city? Or instead of thinking at it at an international scale, we could always find backup in contexts that are much more attainable. And with these variety of different activities, if one activity doesn't work, we still have a lot of ideas that we could propose. So I think in terms of plan A, plan B, if the first plan doesn't work, there's another activity we have for backup. So yes, I guess that's the whole gist of the possible um activities that we might carry out.
Included in the project, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understood what you said, these activities that you've enumerated are part of your CAS project, right?
Yes, miss.
And
But
hmm,
I actually have a question. Since these do have a variety of different activities, would I propose them all as one project, or would I pick specific ones that fit under the category of a project and then propose those?
when you propose the club as your project and that all the activities of the club will be part of the project, you only need to submit one proposal for all of it.
So I could just put them into the umbrella of the whole club.
Yes. And
Okay.
well, we still do have to, like what you've mentioned, very much these activities or this project in totality is worth developing for this idea of the project is worth developing for a month or more. I would say more because the club will be active for the whole school year, right? And even in
Yes,
your year
miss.
two. So Will if you will propose this CAS project, we will still need a detailed description for each of these activities. And don't worry, because the good thing is that you already have the plan. And like what you've said, if in case these things that you are planning to do or you are aiming to do for the whole school year did not materialize, or they will materialize but in a modified format, you still do have backup plans or backup ideas. Okay. Now, if this will be your CAS project. Of course, the CAS project, aside from the seven experiences that you have to accomplish, this is somehow the highlight of your one of the many highlights of your CAS, because this is where, like you've said, you are not just going to do it for a month individually, but you are required to collaborate with different people. So now, my question or my next question would be, how do you think this CAS project, or maybe this CAS experiences or the CAS experiences you've mentioned a while ago, how do you think you can use this to address local or global issues that our society is currently dealing right now?
I think if you think about it in terms of like the cast, the whole thing about the tracks, I think service really connects with this type of problem more than the others, because I feel like activity and creativity are more personal development um, focused, but I think the service part is really where you have to um, help other people. So I do have a couple of things that I want to address through the service track. One, I care about the pandemic. I think all of us do, because it is a global issue that can be applied in local contexts as well. Um, so I guess through my volunteer work at the hospital, that's somewhat indirect because I won't be interacting with patients. The corporate work that I'll be doing there contributes to the patients at the ward. Second, I care about mental health. I think it's something that not a lot of people talk about before. Like thankfully now through the internet and such and social media, we like to speak about issues more often now and we're more vocal about it. But I still think there's a stigma around how mental health is perceived as, especially for um, some people who might be a little bit um, unsure of the areas of how mental health works. And I think through the experience or project, possibly a project that I might be proposing with Ariana, because it is a mental health related project, I could help other people um, who may be going through something, or if not, I could be raising awareness about such issue, which could be a great help as well. And another thing that I wanted to address with CAS is the fact that there's a social hierarchy of things, and the people at the bottom of that hierarchy don't get as much opportunities as much as the people at the top. So that's an issue that's a bit vague. But I guess in terms of something that I can connect to personally, and I think that's education because I am a student myself. And I think I should take this opportunity and privilege to be able to help other kids who don't have access to certain materials. So possibly through the donations that we might be doing in our project to schools, we'll be able to help other students as well. And I don't think it's a good idea to um, use the opportunity or privilege just for the sake of like looking good in an application or feeling good about yourself. I think that if you give back to the community and to the world, it will eventually come back to you naturally. So I don't think it's a good thing to expect. Um, but yeah, I guess the three issues that I want to address through CAS and the ones that I have like connected to my experiences and activities are like the donation drives, the project regarding mental health, and my volunteer work at the hospital.
Okay, these are very huge societal issues right now, the pandemic, mental health, and yes, since we are just beginning to raise awareness, there is still obviously the stigma and inequality that you've mentioned. And like you said, these are this specifically the third one is very broad and something that you can really address given that you are a student would be inequality in education. But the good thing here is that you are or you were able to incorporate them already in the experiences or project that you're planning to do. And hopefully, like what you've said, at first we would think that it's part of it. It's a byproduct of what we are doing. That it will, like you said a while ago, it will help you in your college applications. But I like what you added in the last part that the main purpose or at the bottom of the at the bottom of everything what you are doing or what you are aiming to do is not for yourself but for the people around you, and truly it will come back to you because the society that you live in or that we live into right now, we have our own roles to take, right, to affect change for the better. And if we were able to make changes like this through small acts like your own experiences and even your big projects, they might be small in compared to tasks or rules or regulations the government or other huge organizations in the community can do. Still, they can create their own impact, right?
Yes,
So
miss.
now let's proceed. Now, thank you very much for your answers. Let's proceed to your learning outcomes. We have 7 learning outcomes in CAS, and your requirement to finish this program, to finish CAS successfully, is to achieve all of the 7 learning outcomes. Now, in your own words, can you summarize the learning outcomes?
So there's quite an amount. There's seven, and I didn't memorize them word for word. But the essence of what I've got when I read them was that first, the learning outcomes should be like um, developing a growth mindset, growing out of your comfort zone, and not just staying within the zone that you're all right with or that you're used to for you to grow. Because it's common knowledge that if you um, step out of your comfort zone, that you'll learn. Another thing that I realized is to be committed and persevere. And I think that's one of the things that I might have troubles with. Now, I'm a very hardworking person. At least I like to think so, but I'm pretty committed with the things that I like to do, but I do have this small fear in me that with the amount of work, I don't think I'll be able to commit to everything with my full potential because I like putting my best into everything. So, regardless of what position I'm put at, I like doing the best that I possibly could, but with the many activities, I don't think the quality of time planning and such execution I'd give to each commitment would be equal. Like I might put more time into others than some other smaller ones or such like that. But I think that's the beauty of it. I think it's a good idea that it's hard so that you'll actually learn to go around it or how to go by it. Another thing that I've read regarding the learning outcomes is making ethical choices and decisions. I think this was the one that struck me the most because regardless of what you do, I think you should put your morals or ethics at a higher standard than everything else because if these are what you go by in life, I don't necessarily think that you'd commit as um, much mistakes or hurt as much people. And I really think it's important to be empathetic about the people around you or care about what others feel around you because when you make decisions usually sometimes it does affect others around you. So let's say in terms of like their project, if you're making decisions all by yourself and you don't just consider the fact that there are other people with you or working with you, it might affect them. It might hurt their feelings if you don't consider what they think. So um, to summarize the main takeaways that I've um, gotten regarding learning outcomes is growth, perseverance, being dedicated and sticking to your goals, and making good ethical decisions.
Very good summary, and I think you don't really need to memorize any of them, because the moment that you had that firm understanding of what those learning outcomes are for, you would definitely remember them without putting any effort in memorizing them, which is way more better than memorizing them. Now, for the evidence in CAS, you've mentioned that you're more likely to document your engagement in terms of photos or videos, right? And in
Yes,
terms
yes.
of reflection, have you mentioned, I think I haven't heard you mention about how will you reflect, although you've mentioned what should be the content of your reflection, and that is very good that you know that it's not just about what happened, but at the same time it's a combination of what you experienced, what you felt, what you thought of, and what you plan for the next one. So for the format of reflection, any plan already for your CAS experiences and projects?
I have a certain way of writing reflections in general, like that I like to apply to all premises. First, I like to list down whatever happened, not even in order. Whatever I just remember, any anecdotes, um, if I have any photos that could help me remember it, if I have any videos that could help me remember it. Generally, just anything that I remember. And then if I have listed that down, I would reflect upon everything that I've written. So usually the structure of that, it's somewhat like an essay or a journal type of thing. So I'd say what I felt or what I learned per important thing that had happened throughout that experience. Or let's say if I'm reflecting on a certain day, I would put that out. But I don't exactly have a concrete way yet, but that's how I usually write reflections. I like to list down everything that I remember regarding that activity, and then I'll reflect upon it one by one.
Well, whatever it is for you that is more convenient, then I would really advise you to use that. And although some students would think that journal writing can be tedious or it can be too much effort to exert, but I think with people like you who are more expressive in writing, you would definitely get advantage in terms of reflection, because of course the main purpose of reflection is to express your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences to others, to connect with people like me who were not with you or who may not be with you during the experience. And as being a CAS coordinator or advisor in the previous years, I definitely like reflections which in the form of journal writing, because even if the student did not present me yet with documentation like pictures, through their writing I can already visualize, they can already walk me through what they experienced throughout that engagement, and I'll be looking forward to your reflections, Katrina. And
Thank you, Miss.
yes, these reflections and evidences will be compiled in which portfolio on ManageBack? You've mentioned a while ago that proposals will be on ManageBack. I'm somehow assuming that the same with your evidences, or I mean documentation and reflection.
Um, I'll see about it, but I haven't explored the whole um CAS portfolio on ManageBack, but most probably I'll have a Google Drive link with all of the photos and such on the activity. And if the reflection allows for it to be in ManageBack, I'll probably put it there. But I guess for organization's sake, I'll keep them all in that Google Drive folder. So let's say for like a Google Doc, I'll put it in there along with the other documentation pieces.
I think that's a very good approach, that you don't just depend on ManageBack to organize all your evidence and your reflections. And I think it at the same time, not just for the sake of organization, but at the same time for the sake of backup, for having
Yes.
to save it on a different platform, so that if in case there will be system error, at least we still have the plan, what you said, the plan B, right? That's very important. Right now, that's all my questions about your general understanding of the CAS, the learning outcomes, how will you reflect and document at the same time, most importantly, your plans for this program for your 18 months here in IB. Now, it's your turn. Do you have any questions or concerns about CAS?
Um, I guess in the future I probably might have, but I think I've already asked the query regarding the project, so I guess at the moment I don't have any queries. But I am aware that you're always there to accommodate any possible queries that I may have.
Okay,
But
that's
so far, none.
Yeah, that's wonderful. If you don't have any questions right now, soon, of course, you continue to plan for your other experiences or projects. And yes, you are right. I'll make sure that I'll always be there to accommodate all your concerns or questions. And I hope that in this CAS program, as you've mentioned a while ago, not only will you develop into a better version of who you are, not just for yourself, not just for college applications or for any other thing that you would like to pursue for yourself, but at the same time, like what you said, for the people around you. Because whatever you will do here in CAS, it will definitely affect the people around you. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Miss.
That ends our first CAS interview. Thank you very much for your time, Katrina. Have a great day and stay safe.
Have a great day, Miss.